I'm just gonna say this. I don't typically consider myself to be a vain person.
Okay.
I'm not usually overly, affected by my appearance per se.
Okay.
But Jeff, who is of course not only the co-host but the executive producer, insisted on having content available for whenever this episode was due
Makes
to,
my job
due to
easier.
drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's making me do this on a day literally the afternoon before I'm supposed to go get a haircut.
I apologize. I didn't know that. You could have said something.
No. So I just want to apologize to all of the viewers that are looking at my giant fro here. That's Jeff is the reason why I do not look my best on this particular podcast.
Not true.
Jeff, you don't have a haircut problem.
I don't.
You can handle your haircut. It's not that you don't have, because obviously you do have the ability to grow.
Yeah,
but you just choose to keep it a little.
Yeah, when I get a little bedhead or my hair starts poking through like a hat, then I know it's time to shave it off.
Yeah. So now, how long have you been sort of just
So I did the whole barber thing up until about COVID, and then it was hard to get a haircut sometimes. So
yeah,
my wife started cutting my hair, and I started cutting my hair, and she would touch me up. But
yeah. I did try to cut my hair, and I was not entirely unsuccessful in cutting my own hair during COVID. It was I have watched barbers cut my hair in the mirror for my entire life, so I just kind of mimicked what they did. It's hard to do the back.
I would assume. Well, it's a little easier for me. I mean, everything's just one size. Yeah. Yeah.
One.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't have that. Yeah, but I will say this. You have an advantage, because I'm a firm believer that men that have a bald head compared to men that have gray hair look younger longer. I think, like, you look at guys like Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart is like 90 and he still does not look 90.
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
been bald all his life.
That's true.
So you haven't really noticed him age.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel, guys like that, they're the same way.
Yeah, but the beard, the gray beard would give it away, though.
Yeah, a lot of those guys are clean shaven, to be fair.
Yeah, you don't want to see me without a beard.
Yeah, well, that's the same here. I have had this goatee since I was in college, and it's because I have a round head.
Yeah.
So this makes my head look less round because it sort of focuses your attention toward the middle of my face.
Yeah, I started the whole facial hair thing when I worked at McDonald's, and it was, you couldn't have a beard or anything, but you could have sideburns. So I had the biggest mutton chops that I could grow.
Very nice.
They couldn't say anything.
And they didn't make you wear like the chin bib or whatever. I've seen people wearing those little beards. They have like that chin hairnet.
Wasn't a beard.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
When did you work? You worked in college?
In high school and college, yeah.
High school and college?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was I'm guessing probably your first job?
That was my first job.
Yeah.
I worked that for almost I don't know, like 9 years, I guess. 7 years, something like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you were there a while.
Quite a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess not 9 years. I started working as soon as I could start working. And I worked there through college.
Yeah. I was 16, I wanted a car. My parents were like, "Well, you want a car? You better drive to a job."
Yep. Right.
But I mean, that was high school, and we're going to actually talk a little bit about high school and school in general, I think today.
Great transition.
I know. It
only took 10 minutes.
Yeah, right. All right. So what we are going to talk about today is because it is currently it is August.
Yeah.
And so people are going to be going back to school here. And so we thought let's talk about how to shop for back to school. Now, I was talking to a couple of friends last weekend, and they were telling me they have school age kids, and they said that like the back to school shopping is not as critical as it was whenever I was in school. I don't know if that's true
maybe
or not,
because people are shopping online more. It's not a mad dash to your big box store and trying to get the best deal off the shelves anymore. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's so much that it was the I don't need pens and pencils and paper and things like that. It was more like this, like the clothes shopping. My one friend was like, he's like, oh, we have to go and get you, new shoes and new clothes and stuff. And his daughter was like, why? And I wouldn't have dreamed of going back to school without new sneakers, or I would have just been made fun of endlessly for using my summer sneakers while I went back to school. I mean, that was.
I don't know. Maybe trends are changing, and last year's clothes are still cool.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other conversation that we could have. I mean, I don't know.
Clothes that I wore when I was in high school are now like really popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really there seems to be less of a transition between decades in terms of what's in fashion. When I was in school in the 90s, like high school in the 90s, we would have 80s days, you know, in school where everybody dressed up like they were in the 80s or the 70s. And that was only 10 or 20 years prior.
If you say that was current day for you, what are you talking about?
But I mean, but that's it. You know, if you tried to dress up like something in the 2000 teens, nobody would notice.
Yeah.
Because it's all the same stuff.
Jenko jeans and, you know, black pants and eyeliner and
Yeah.
studded belts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. My sister had Jenko jeans in high school.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
huge.
that was big. Yeah. She could have put her entire body into one pant leg if she really wanted to, but you know.
I went through that gothic phase. I was
Did you?
in all black and frosted tips and yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did. It was a short-lived phase, but I went through that phase.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I did not know that about you.
yeah.
You may have to show pictures at some
No.
point. So, I know your wife. I can get them.
Yeah, well.
So let's talk about some shopping strategies for those that are doing back to school shopping.
Yeah.
So because parents especially, I think that no matter what, you probably are shopping for your kids in some way, shape, or form. Either you need new laptops or you need new clothes or you need, you know, for younger kids, more basic stuff like paste and crayons and markers and paper and pens and things like that. So one of the tips that we were researching was to take your time shopping because while, you know, the first day of school, the first week of school, you get a lot of stuff from teachers that say, "Oh, you're going to need this." But some of it you may not necessarily need until later in the school year. So don't feel pressured to buy everything up front. If the teacher says, "Hey, we're going to be doing a big project, but you're not going to need this stuff until November."
Right. Yeah, including clothes. That was a big one that I saw too. Get a couple outfits to start the school year off especially for a little bit older students, you know, see what the trends are for the year, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
You might have something from last year that you could still use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time you don't want to spend $300 on clothes that your son or daughter comes home and says, "Everybody made fun of me. I don't.
Yeah.
This is the wrong style, the wrong trend, or something like that."
And it just spreads out your budget a little more too. If you can, you know, get a month in and, you know, you didn't have to spend $300 all in one month. You can break it up 150 here, 150 there. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely true. You know, here's the other secret, you know, you can double dip a little bit and get some, you know, Christmas presents, things like that out of it.
That's
you know,
true, yeah.
It's like, "Oh, I got you new clothes and stuff," you know, it kind of gets you into the second half of the school year.
Yeah.
Kind of double dip on some of the presents.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's another thing you could do. The other thing that says to do is to research student discounts.
Okay.
There are some retailers and brands that'll run special promotions for students.
I have used that. Like Apple was a big one back.
Apple.
Yeah.
Microsoft was big when I was in college. They would give
Okay,
you discounts on Microsoft Windows or Microsoft Office.
Right.
Which I don't know if that's still a thing now because isn't Office pretty much a subscription at this point?
Yeah, but I think there is a student version.
Is there still?
I think so. Yeah.
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 So look into things like that.
Right.
You know, I mean, that can definitely be helpful. Here's one that I think we both came up with, and that was tax holidays, taking advantage of state tax holidays.
Didn't know this was a thing until today. Yes.
I think the state of Pennsylvania did one many, many years ago.
Oh.
I don't recall when it was, and it definitely wasn't recent.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But there are quite a few states that do sales tax holidays. Sometimes a couple times a year, sometimes once a year. The thing is, you have to keep in mind that based on the state, they may or may not do it for every product or every service, things like that too. So,
and then I saw you can save up to like, I don't know, one website said like 7% usually is like
Yeah.
the max for that.
Yeah, I mean the state of Pennsylvania's sales tax is 6%,
Right.
but obviously, state of Pennsylvania doesn't currently do its sales tax holidays. But yeah, you're right. There are some states that 7% could be a pretty significant savings for you.
Sure, especially if you got a couple hundred. I mean, the price of everything's going up, so
Yeah.
you got a couple $100. 7% makes a big difference.
Yeah, there are some people that say that the proponents of sales tax holidays suggest that they sometimes encourage out-of-state consumers to travel for discounts, increasing in-state sales. So that's some of the reasons why they try to.
It's a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. They say that it says here, because the holidays often apply to lower cost items that wouldn't justify a large detour, their effect in attracting out-of-state purchasers is doubtful. And we are obligated to mention that legally speaking, and look, let's be honest, a lot of people don't do this, right? But when you're doing your taxes, they ask you, did you make any money out of state? Did you make any purchases out of state that you didn't pay? Technically speaking, a consumer who makes a sales tax-free out-of-state purchase that is intended to be consumed in their own state is legally obligated to pay use tax on that purchase when you file your taxes. So, so you may or may not actually save anything. If you do things by the book, you're still paying tax.
Yeah.
Because if you travel out of your own state to buy it, you may not be paying tax in the state that you're purchasing it at that time, but you should technically pay tax.
Then you waste all that money on gas to get there, and
Yeah, I mean, unless you live right across the border,
Yeah.
But so I did take a look and see there are some lists, and I think you have a list too of some of the states that do.
yeah, I just had the
do
states
this.
written down. I had Alabama, Arkansas, Connecticut, Florida, Iowa, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Missouri, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia.
And for those of you that didn't catch all that, you can just rewind and listen to it again. That's the beauty of streaming.
Yes.
I will say this: some of those states that Jeff mentioned, some of them, the tax-free holiday has already passed. Like Alabama, for example, their tax-free holiday for 2025 was between July 18th and 20th.
Okay, yeah.
So that one's just last month. But some of them, Arkansas was August 2nd through the 3rd. Connecticut is August 17th through the 23rd. So if you're in Connecticut, you could still take advantage of that. Florida is the entire month of August is back to school tax free. And you got to also keep in mind that some of these states limit what is tax free. So sometimes it's only on clothes. Sometimes it's on everything. Sometimes it's on electronics. So you got to, your mileage may vary.
Does that change? I didn't see. Does the dates change every year, or is it like okay, not a like first week in August for Connecticut?
For most of these, they say in the article that the state legislature usually determines when the tax-free holiday will be at some point early in the year, and then they set it. So sometimes there's a recurring thing, and sometimes not.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
But so again, that's one of those things where it might be it might be worthwhile to you, it might not. So yeah, so tax holidays. What else we got? Shop major sales this summer. Again, too late.
But you can, I mean, if you get a newspaper, you can still look and see what's on sale for the flyers every week. It may not be as big a sales as those major sales, but
Yeah.
you can still find some sales.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit too about we'll just say like Prime Day and things like. I have noticed that Amazon's Prime Day has spurred a cavalcade. There's your word for the day, boys and girls, of like-minded sales from other retailers. So every time Prime Day is announced, then all of a sudden every other major retailer, big box retailer like Target and Walmart, they all come out with sales around the same time.
Oh, sure, they want to benefit, yeah.
Yeah. So that didn't happen originally, and then I think they all realized, wow, Prime Day's just like taking it down when it came to sales.
Yeah.
Do you do Prime Day? Have you
looked
done
this
Prime Day
year.
or anything like that?
I looked this year, but there wasn't really anything that. A lot of times they'll jack prices up pre-Prime days,
Oh yeah.
and then they say, oh, you're getting a 25% discount, and you don't really get a 25% discount. So there wasn't anything
That's
I
true.
also needed desperately enough that that 10% impulse buy was going
Yeah.
to make me buy it.
Yeah, that goes back to what we said at the very beginning. Like,
Right.
shop smart.
Right.
Don't buy it if you don't really need it.
Right.
And I would say when it comes to things like school shopping and so on, I think that applies to things like notebooks and pencils and pens. I have drawers of pencils and pens at home.
Yeah.
They don't go dry that fast. You don't always need a brand new box of pens if you've got pens at home that you can use, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right. And a 10% discount on, a $3 pack of pencils is not gonna like make me buy right this instant.
Yeah, that 30. I mean, yeah, granted, things do add up, but 30 cents on a $3 pack of pencils is not most likely going to make or break you if you can't buy them right now.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something about those big sales, sort of artificially raising the price.
Yeah, they tend to do that.
Yeah, and there are apps out there that you can use to help identify those things.
There
And
are.
you were talking. What's the one you said you were?
Honey was one of them. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, Honey's one of them. There's some of your credit card providers sometimes will provide different. I think there's I think Capital One has an app that you can. They're basically an extension you can add to your web browser, right?
Yeah, there's websites that do it too, just not extensions. But yeah,
So you actually go to the website.
yeah. So you'll go to the website, put the URL in of the product, and it'll go back and pull
Okay.
up the history of the price, and you get a nice graph of showing, hey, what your high was, what your low was, and when
Yeah.
they were. So
Yeah, I did that. This has nothing to do with back to school, but I was looking for a fan for my kitchen,
okay,
and I was keeping an eye on it because, again, didn't need it right now.
yeah, sure.
But I was keeping an eye on the price. And Honey, I have that extension on my. This is not sponsored by Honey, but I'm just using it as an example. And it showed that, for the last 3 months, basically, it had been, say, $80. I don't remember the exact price, but say $80.
Yeah.
And then the week before Prime Day, it went up to 100, and then they dropped it 25% for Prime Day, and they were like, "Oh, 25% off." Well, it wasn't really 25%; it was like $5
Yeah,
off.
right, right.
Still cheaper, but $5,
Yeah.
was really the only price difference, really. But if I didn't have Honey, I would have known that.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think the apps can be very, very helpful if you know how to use them.
There's another app that we hadn't talked about. Not an app, a website. And if I remember the website, I will put it in the description. But there are websites out there too. And I had a friend back at my last job that would use it for video games. But you would put in a product, like say the product that you're looking for is sold out on whatever website, whatever store.
Mm-hmm.
You would put this product into this website, and it would tell you every online store that has that product and whether it's in stock or not. So you could watch.
Oh, nice.
Just because that product is not in stock at the store that you wanted to buy it from, it might be in stock at a different store. So you might get a better price. You don't have to go to the big box store and buy something for $5 more if you can get it online cheaper at a different website that you didn't know about.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let's see, what else do we got? Go shopping with a plan. It says set a budget for back to school shopping before you go to the stores, and then figure out how much you can spend for various items on the list. If you have older children, this process can be a valuable personal finance learning opportunity. Kind of
Yeah.
get them involved in creating the budget for their back to school shopping, and teaching them hopefully the value of $1 or $5, which
Prevents impulse buying and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it says compare prices, of course, before you buy as well. So a few minutes of online searching online can make sure you're getting the best possible deal. You probably also want to look at things. I know personally, I don't know about you. I know that I shop a lot. I don't want to say I don't shop on price, because I think everybody shops on price.
Yeah.
But these days, with as much information as out there for reviews, I also shop a lot based on review.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if I find something that is within $5 or $10 of another one, and the review on the first one, even if it's cheaper, is terrible,
Yeah.
review on the more expensive one is better, I might spend a little bit more to get that.
That goes into, so I found one too. It was the difference between cheap versus value. So like products that you're going to be using a lot, like your backpacks, They're used every day and they're used hard. You don't necessarily want to get the cheapest.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get you there.
You want to get something that's going to last, more than the first week of school. Yeah.
Yeah. Because really, if you think about it, that's a good example. You don't want to be buying 2 of it. Right. How cheap is it really if you have to buy it twice?
Right.
So, yeah, you can buy 2 cheap ones for more than you spend on one good one in some cases, if the zippers break or the bottom falls out, or I mean, some of these now. So here's the other question. And again, I haven't had kids for a while. Like how many books are they really carrying around? Do they still get books in school, or are they have
iPads probably? Yeah.
Yeah.
So my wife is a teacher, and a lot of it is on iPads and laptops now, Chromebooks. Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine that colleges are probably hurting a little bit on that because they used to make bank on books when I was.
Did you see they just closed our local college's bookstore for that reason?
No, really?
Over the weekend, yes.
Like closed,
closed.
Done.
Yeah. A worker that works in the office next to our old bookstore.
Yeah.
Said that there would be weeks where no one would be in that bookstore whatsoever. The only time people would go in is like if it was like a parents' day or the first week of school. Other than that.
Yeah, students that got to class and realized they actually needed the book and didn't buy it probably showed up that week.
Right.
And
that's a good one too. So if you're in college, look on. I bought a lot of my books from Amazon. Used books. Look up the ISBN number and get better deals than in bookstores sometimes.
Oh, 100%. Especially if the professor says, "Well, you need the 2025 version of this particular textbook." And then you do a little bit of research online and you find that the only difference between the 2024 version and the 2025 version is the cover art.
Yeah.
Or that they swapped chapters 6 and 7 and just sort of moved them, 6 became 7, 7 became 6, but it's the same content. You can sometimes save some real money.
Yeah, but you do have to do that research because now a lot of these books come with like access codes to websites and stuff that are not transferable for like a used version.
Good point.
So,
definitely. So if the professor's using the online stuff, which probably are,
I'm sure. Yeah. So definitely do your research. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me back in the day, that wasn't really a thing. And people would have
CDs. Certain books would come with CDs like for computers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And then you would you walk down the hall and there would be bulletin boards. You could pull a thing off that said like "used book for sale" or whatever. You'd pull it off and try to save. And to be fair too, I went to when I went to college anyway, there were professors that said that you had to have a particular book, and it was mostly because the college said that they had to use a textbook.
Yeah,
and you never opened it. Yeah, the entire semester.
Some professors would be nice and say, "You don't really actually need it. I know it's on our syllabus, but
yeah." Some professors made you buy their book.
Yeah.
Which
yes, you're right. Yeah.
Which was a convenient way of driving up their particular sales.
Right.
Which I always thought was kind of funny. So what else do we got? We kind of talked about spreading out your shopping. We'll kind of skip over that. Consider buying refurbished electronics. That's another one. You don't always necessarily need to have a brand new laptop. If you can find a good deal on a refurb at your local big box store or online, a lot of times especially if it says factory reconditioned on it, something like that, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get a piece of electronics that works just fine.
Yeah.
Without necessarily having to pay top dollar.
Yeah. And it's not like, 5-10 years ago where you had to go on Craigslist to buy a used Apple computer. Now because the price of everything's going up, there are a lot of websites out there that solely sell reconditioned products.
Yeah. And if you do like to shop in person, a lot of electronic stores will have open box
display models
sitting around, display models, particularly as model numbers change and model years change. You can find some good stuff as their stores are switching over their displays. So if they had a laptop that was on display and for people to be able to see how it looked or worked or whatever, and then the new model is coming out, they're just trying to sell the displays off. Sometimes those displays didn't really get a lot of hard use. They were just kind of sitting there for people to kind of monkey around with.
Yeah.
As long as the touchscreen displays and stuff aren't damaged in some way or something, you're probably good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a definite. And then, so you also said about doing comparison, a lot of price comparisons, right? So
Yeah. See who can price match too. That was another big one.
yeah,
That kind of saves you some running around. Maybe, if you can get everything at one store, see if that store or you need a product from a store that is nowhere near you. See if your local store will price match that store.
yeah.
Yeah.
Typically stores will want to see something in writing. So if you see something in a flyer that you get through the mail, or if you're still among the people that go get a newspaper and you get coupons and you see something that's physically advertised, take it with you to that store.
Yeah.
So that you can prove that the other store is selling the same model. Because I know that a lot of and again, if we're talking about things like $3 pens or something, chances are you're not, don't be that guy. That's like, hey, you know what? This was $3.98 at this store and you're selling it for $3.99.
Yeah.
Like don't be that guy.
But you can even check, online the store itself. Like I've been to plenty of stores where the online price is different than the in-store price.
Sure.
So make sure that you're getting the
Yeah.
price that you want.
But typically when it comes to things like price matching, you're probably looking at larger ticket items like
Yeah.
laptops and stuff. Make sure it's the same model number.
Yeah.
Which is also harder and harder to be able to determine when it comes to laptops and things. But a lot of stores, they'll say they'll price match, but they'll only price match like model for like model. And if it's a slightly different model, then it may not necessarily do it. So if you have something in writing that shows the actual item that's on sale and for what, that really helps.
Okay.
So take that with you when you go to. But the other side of it is, make sure that you're also keeping an eye on the prices of the things you buy for a certain period of time after you buy them. Because a lot of stores will do 30-day return policies, things like that. And during that time, usually they'll price match their own sales. So if you buy something now, it goes on sale 2 weeks from now, you can sometimes get that lower price.
Okay.
But you got to tell them. They're not going to call you.
Well, yeah, because then they figure you're going to, bring whatever product back, return it, and buy it again for the cheaper rates.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Okay.
So a lot of times if you keep an eye on it, that happened with me. It wasn't a back to school thing, but it happened to me with a washer dryer about 10 years ago.
Okay.
We bought a washer dryer and the store that we bought it from put it on sale like 2 weeks after we bought it. I saved like $250 because I just mentioned to them, I'm like, hey, you know what? You guys put this on sale and we bought it 2 weeks ago. And they're like, all right, we'll give you the price back.
It doesn't hurt to ask, I guess. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So definitely keep an eye on that. And like you said that you sort of worked in the fast food sort of industry and things like that. So, but when I was in high school and in college, I worked in a big box store that is no longer in business. Not my fault. But so I know a lot of these little tricks. Like you got to make sure that you're playing the game. But you can easily play the game if you know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it's no longer my job to keep that from people, I'm going to tell you.
Share your little secrets. Yeah.
Right. What else did we miss anything?
I had a few on mine that I think you didn't have on yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
So audit what you already have in your house. So see what you have from last year that
point.
is still in good condition, or if you have kids of various ages, see what works, hand-me-down wise.
Hey, you know what? In a lot of cases, hand-me-downs are just, the bloom is on the rose in the store. But let's be honest, 3 days after that backpack goes to school, it's already messed up, damaged, torn, whatever.
Yeah.
So if there's a little scuff mark or something on a backpack because the older brother or older sister used it, and it's probably still serviceable.
Oh, yeah.
And you can say some of the backpacks are not cheap.
No, they're not. Shop dollar store. A lot of dollar stores will get in a surplus of like brand name items, and they'll sell them for $1 or cheap.
Sure. Yeah, that's how those stores exist.
Yeah.
The larger name stores want to have the latest and greatest, and whenever they have excess inventory, they'll sell them off to a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General or something, and that's where they get their inventory from. And it's perfectly good stuff.
Oh,
it's just not 2025 or 2024.
Yeah, and especially stuff like pencils and Post-it notes. You don't have to get the brand name. The dollar version is probably just as good or close to it.
Yeah. I don't know how important it is to have a number 2 pencil anymore. You know, I mean, back
in the day, it was Ticonderoga. You had to have a Ticonderoga number 2 pencil. It was the best pencil you could have.
Yeah, that and if you were taking any of those bubble tests, if you were taking ACTs or
Scantrons,
any of the Scantron stuff, you had to fill it in. It had to be a number 2 pencil.
That's right. I don't even know if they do Scantron stuff anymore. Yeah,
I don't know. Now they can probably throw just about anything through an AI related thing and it'll read it.
that's true. Yeah.
Probably essays are even being graded that way now. Who knows?
Sure. Yeah. Well, they use, what is it, turnitin.com. And I mean, that was a thing when I was getting out of high school where you would have to turn your essays into this website and it would,
Oh, really?
it would use some AI algorithm to determine whether you plagiarized or not or whatever.
That's got to be getting more difficult with AI stuff. I mean, we talked about AI with John a little bit last, what was it, our last episode? Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. You know, there's got to be some of that stuff going in. I remember my stepdaughter was in college and she had stuff that you could turn stuff in. Now, this would have been dangerous for me because I was always running kind of up to that deadline,
Okay.
you know, and like
Yeah,
she could
not
turn
me.
stuff in up until midnight.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
There were times when she would turn things in at 11:56 p.m. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that,
No.
you know, but yeah, she turns stuff in digitally for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What else you got?
We did the
See,
download.
See, we do a lot of research for you folks. I'm just saying.
We do.
You know.
Download store apps. Sometimes store apps will give you some perks, like
Sure.
like Target and Walmart apps have perks whenever you are back to school shopping. Pro tip: get a so this says Target Red Card. I think now it's called a Target Circle Card. It's not a credit card. But you get 5% off of off every single purchase in the store online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I will say, and this might be more applicable to high school students that are of driving age or college students, but you're right about the apps thing. And the apps is not limited to purchasing stuff like back to school per se. A lot of times fast food places like McDonald's, Burger King, whatever, you can earn perks and things by using, but they only allow you to do it through the app.
Yeah, right.
So if you make your order through the app as opposed to ordering it at the drive-through window,
Right.
and I think they're trying to do that because it's probably saving them cost in terms of having people working there, which is probably not the greatest thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think they're pushing people onto the app that way, and you can earn perks and bonus points. And as a once starving college student, if I could get a free cheeseburger for every 3 that I bought or something because I ordered it through the app, that would have been great.
Yeah, yeah,
So that would have been just fine. I would have been okay with that.
yeah, yeah.
Buy
in bulk. If you have multiple kids or you get a group of parents together that everybody needs the same thing, buy in bulk and split the product and split the cost. You might save a couple bucks.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, if there's a lot of parents that get pretty tight with their kids, especially if their kids are friends. So you kind of become friends with your kids' parents, you know, for a while there.
Right.
And so if, especially if families are getting smaller than they used to be. I mean, you don't always have multiple older siblings to do pass downs to.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're a single child family and your son or daughter is friends with another single child family, that kind of thing, team up. Be like, hey, I got a Sam's Club membership. Why don't I go out and
we all need the same thing. We're all in the same class.
Yeah, we'll just split the cost.
Yeah.
So and definitely do your kids a favor. And I don't know if they still do this or not, but when I was especially in elementary school, I don't know about you.
Okay.
They used to give us free tablets at the beginning of school. And they were these gray, most likely, I don't know if they were recycled at the time, but they were these gray tablets with green lines on them. And they were the most useless paper you've ever seen. It was like origami paper. If you tried to erase something on it, it would just tear in big holes and stuff. So
I don't remember that.
Oh, they were awful.
I'm sure they don't do that anymore. Yeah.
Probably don't.
Yeah.
I also remember going down
a planner. That was what we got.
A planner? They gave you like an actual like a calendar planner?
Yeah. At the beginning of every year. Yeah. It had room for notes and stuff. So
man,
Times have changed.
That's awesome. Yeah, my days of crappy gray tablet paper were, I guess, gone.
And now kids get iPads to take home, you know.
Yeah. My stepdaughter she had a school issued tablet there for a few years toward the end.
See, so she's still got a tablet, just a little bit different.
Yes, but hers was an iPad.
Hers had an on and off button. Yeah.
It was, it wasn't. Yeah, those and I'm trying to think of what else it was. We got the crappy tablets, and we got sometimes you'd get like 2 pencils, but they were usually this is, you talk about like hand-me-downs and looking through your stuff at home and audit what you already have at home.
Right.
Make sure that the erasers haven't solidified.
Dry rotting. Yeah.
Because that's what the schools would give us, and they would have. It was obvious that they had bought these pencils probably 10 years ago, and the pencils worked just fine.
Yeah,
but the erasers had become this like solid tip of rubber. And completely useless.
Right. Yeah.
So obviously, yes, do what you can to make sure that you're using what you already have available. But if that particular thing is not functional for your student, go ahead and buy new.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
I had one more was you reach out to community organizations. So if you're really, in a tight spot, see if your local community center or church has some donation that they're taking for school supplies. Maybe you can benefit from that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We do, or at least we did. I think they still do it. The local radio station used to do a thing every summer where we would pack the school bus.
Oh, okay.
You would donate stuff to them, and they would just try to jam as much as they possibly could into a school bus. And they would donate it to different school districts for students that needed stuff.
Yeah.
So, and check with your guidance counselors too. Sometimes they know things that you may not necessarily know about. My wife is involved with an organization that does sort of a holiday gift buying for kids.
Okay.
And they usually get it's typically things like coats and gloves and boots and clothes and things like that. But they usually also try to give them at least one toy or one, something or other. And and people donate throughout the year for it, but then they shop for these kids every year. And typically what they do is they reach out to the guidance counselor and they say, hey, we have this available. Do you have any students or families that are in need?
Okay.
So if you are a family that is in need of something like that, and you don't know about these programs, talk with your local your school's guidance counselor. They probably know something that you may not. So that's a good thing.
Good tip. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is good stuff. This is all good info.
Yeah.
So, we'll put links in the description for various things that we've talked about here to try to help you out. So check out the links in the description if you're interested in learning more.
Yeah.
I think we probably have some stuff on our learning library too that probably
I'm
relates
sure,
to
yeah.
this that we can link to. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. It really does help.
Yeah, please.
If you're liking the show, if you listen to the show, if you subscribe to the show and you really, really enjoy what you're hearing and it's something that's valuable to you, please take it doesn't take long to just like the episode, subscribe, leave a comment. It really helps on all these different platforms that we're on to help build the show and the listenership. So we'd appreciate it if you could help us out in that way. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And doesn't cost anything, just a little bit of your time. And we definitely appreciate it if you can do it. Anything else? You got anything else?
Well said. Yeah. No.
All right.
I think that's it.
Good talk.
Good talk.
Yeah, thanks.
This podcast focuses on having valuable conversations on various topics related to banking and financial health. The podcast is grounded in having open conversations with professionals and experts with the goal of helping to take some of the mystery out of financial and related topics, as learning about financial products and services can help you make more informed financial decisions. Please keep in mind that the information contained within this podcast and any resources available for download from our website or other resources relating to Bank Chats is not intended and should not be understood or interpreted to be financial advice. The hosts, guests, and production staff of Bank Chats expressly recommend that you seek advice from a trusted financial professional before making financial decisions. The hosts of Bank Chats are not attorneys, accountants, or financial advisors, and the program is simply intended as one source of information. The podcast is not a substitute for a financial professional who is aware of the facts and circumstances of your individual situation. Thank you for listening. Please check out our full library of episodes, which can be found on the Ameriserve.com website. You can also download or stream the podcast from your favorite podcast app.